we just have everything there that the hunter needs to be successful. We've got a great team of people that are helping people, round out their application portfolio. If you want to try to draw a sheep tag, we can help you do that. If you want to do mountain goats or moose, the best places to hunt mule deer and elk in the West, all that kind of stuff. And our consultants can really help you get dialed in and figure out where to go, how many points it takes here and there, and really just give people an opportunity to go hunting. And like you said before, the public land deal.
Well, explain that. So when you say application, I'm sure somebody's sitting here thinking, because they think of booking a hunt. Say if you're in Pennsylvania and you think, man, I want to go to Kansas and I want to go on a big whitetail hunt. Who do I call? But I think a lot of people miss the opportunity, especially when it comes to elk and moose and bighorn sheep. There's so many animals. I mean, even Gould turkeys. Like in states like Nevada and stuff like that,
Yep.
There's an application service. So explain to the people listening what you mean when you say application service.
Yeah, so basically like our main membership is our gold membership. It's $150 a year. There's a whole list of perks that come with it, but what it does is it gets you unlimited applications in unlimited states. So you put a credit card on file. If you're somebody that just wants to put in for elk, you get with our consultants, and they'll figure out a plan for New Mexico, Colorado, Oregon, Washington, Wyoming, Montana. If you want to put in for all those states and start building points.
And all that will be, say, a public tag most of the time, or at least a tag in a unit that you can draw. Because
Right.
a lot of people don't realize you can't just go buy these elk license over the counter.
Very, very few.
Colorado comes to mind.
In Utah, there's a few places you can. But places like Wyoming, just to draw a general tag, the bottom of the line general tag still takes 3 points to draw. So you have to put in for 3 years.
Right.
And so like right now it's summertime. And so as one of the strategies, if you want to hunt and say right now it's 2022, say you want to take a group in 2025, right now in the middle of the summer you can buy a point. If you wanted to put in for the draw, you can, but you don't have to. So you can draw a point this year. You can buy a point this year, you can buy a point next year, and by the third year, you can actually draw the tag. So there's strategies that go into drawing your tags.
Mm-hmm.
And we have outfitters in units that we can, get your points and get you with that outfitters. With the outfitter, you can hunt public ground. There's just a lot of different options. But for somebody that's looking through, you open the Wyoming booklet and you see all these units, all these options. We can help narrow it down, figure out what exactly you want to hunt.
Kind of the size of the animal you're looking for.
If you're looking to hunt rifle or bow, and just really help people figure out where to go. And we just have a lot of great outfitters too. So say you're a guy that's got the money to hunt New Mexico. You can go to New Mexico and hunt every year, but it's going to cost you X amount of money to buy the hunt.
What's a roundabout?
So, some of the best, let's take like a hunt in 16A in New Mexico, one of the primo units. Some of our outfitters there are between $7,500 and $9,500 for a hunt. If you draw a tag, that's what it costs for the hunt.
Right.
But to buy the landowner tag is around $15,000 plus the cost of the hunt.
Tag.
Yeah, plus the cost of the hunt. So you start putting in for the draw, and eventually it might take you a few years, but you're going to draw that tag, and you can have one of those world-class hunts, for around that price range.
Or correct me if I'm wrong, take a 16A. Like one of my biggest bulls come from the Gila unit, and 16A as part of that big Gila.
Yep.
And I remember in that case I went with Perry Hunsaker. You and I both hunted one year,
Yep.
and we drew those tags.
Right.
And I remember the biggest bull I'd ever shot with a bow, still my biggest with a bow. And it was a pretty inexpensive hunt. I want to say, Perry at the time was around $5,000 for a hunt. However, if we had chose not to work with Perry, we would have had the legality to go and camp in the national forest and a DIY it.
Absolutely.
And I do think there's a misconception there. I think a lot of people look at these shows and they think, oh, well, it must be nice, go hunt private ground or do whatever. So I think a lot of times as you're explaining this application process, if you draw that tag, you'll find that there's a lot of experienced outfitters and our guides. Yep. Obviously you can go get you a Best Western, you can get a Holiday Inn Express, or you can bring a tent camp. But what I found, just in my experience, because I remember those road trips days, man, we were on a big time budget. I mean, we would literally gig bullfrogs for a show, and then we'd pray that we drew a tag.
Dang right.
And literally stomping aluminum cans trying to get on these hunts.
Yeah.
And but I do remember, if you sat here and did the math and took your ego out of it, by the time you went and bought you a wall tent,
Yep.
by the time you drove all the way there,
Yep.
by the time you looked at all the money and rations, Mountain House, food, beanie weenies, Vienna sausage, and potted meat, I eat that. A lot of people
Yep.
don't eat that, but I
Right.
can eat cheap at camp. You're still just a DIY going to have thousands of dollars, much less you don't have any knowledge on the land other than talking and asking. So what I found back in those 2000s, you're way better to throw $4 or $5 grand to an experienced guide.
Yep.
A lot of times you could stay in their home.
Yep.
You know, they would have their wife or a cook. They would cook you 3 squares a day and have
Right.
packs, and you had experience. So I learned real quick into the process of going out west to swallow your ego.
Yeah.
It certainly didn't mean that you didn't know what you're doing, but same. You can come turkey hunting here in Georgia. You can come here on my farm, and you can get your butt kicked.
Absolutely.
But I can tell you a few things. If you can just talk to me before you go, I can say, hey, man, if that turkey gobbles over in that North Ridge, most of the time they head west, and they're going back toward that pasture ground. They're going back toward that timberline. So the point is, as you're talking about trying to book these hunts, there's so many complicated measures that go in it. Number one, I think if everybody's listening to, this financial is always a big deal. I mean, sometimes money is not an object, but money is an object to most of us.
Yes.
And especially when you start talking elk. So when you're talking about a lot of these hunts, what is about the minimum somebody that's thinking about going on an elk hunt, whether it's a DIY public ground, buy your hunt, buy a tag, take your truck, load up, and go to Colorado, or maybe you draw that New Mexico elk tag, or maybe you draw an Arizona tag.
Right.
What is about the roundabout figure you can think of investing on an elk?
So, say you draw a general area tag in Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
The tag's going to be a little over $1,000.
Okay.
And then obviously you're going to have your food costs, your gear, driving out there, probably some meat processing if you end up being successful. But you're talking a minimum of probably $300 to $3,500 just to go on a do-it-yourself, drive out to the country and do it. Well, in Wyoming, we have a bunch of outfitters that have general area hunts in the backcountry. You ride horseback into the most beautiful areas in Wyoming. They take 3 points to draw for anywhere from $5,500 to $7,500, and full service tent camps. The guides know the country. They know where the animals are. You're not spinning your wheels for 4 days to get into the herd. So there's a lot of opportunities like that.
Right.
If you're a guy that wants to buy an elk hunt, we've got places in Utah. Those hunts start around $12,000 to $13,000. But when it comes to just do-it-yourself hunting, draw the tag, I think $3,000 to $4,000 will get you in there if you're doing it on your own. But for another couple $1,000, you can have a guide that'll take you in there. I mean,
I can't
tell you how many times over the years, at all the shows we've done over the years, run into guys and say, yeah, man, I love elk hunting. We've gone to Colorado. This is our 8th year that we've been going out there from Pennsylvania. And me and Tim and Bobby and Squirrely, we jump in the truck and drive out, and, we hike back in 2.5 miles, and we set up camp, and, we don't ever get into anything. I mean, Squirrely saw a small 5-point last year, and couldn't get a shot on him.
Right.
But, it's fun. We haven't killed one yet, but we're gonna. Well, think about it.
8 years.
Yeah.
And so that's 5 or 6 of you.
Absolutely. They've got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
Expensive camping trip is what it is.
That's right. And there's no guarantees that you're going to get the animal. I think that's kind of a misconception too. People book a hunt. They've never been on a guided hunt before. They booked a hunt. They think it's, boom, I'm going to, I pay my money. Where's my animal? It doesn't work that way. These are wild animals. But what it does is it just puts you in a good position to be successful.
Yeah.
And you're not out there spinning your wheels. Because let's face it, I mean, you go into some of the areas in Colorado that have over-the-counter tags. You go in there, you set up camp, and honestly, there might not be an elk within 10 miles of where you're standing, and there's 10,000 people running around in orange or whatever. So,
right.
Building a strategy with a consultant, getting a plan together, and then executing the plan is your best odds at getting something, because if you set your goal that you want to go on let's say a Wyoming elk hunt, you know it's going to take you 3 years to draw. You're rat holing a little bit of money.
Yep.
When you do draw your tag, you got the money in hand. We have some financing options. We're one of the only companies. We're rolling out a new finance plan. We've got a layaway program. So we just want to make people successful and give them the opportunity to go on a hunt. A guy that say is a school teacher, he doesn't get much time off. He's not making a ton of money. He's got kids and a family. We can help you put a plan together that in 2 or 3 years down the road, we can get you on a good hunt. And let's face it, some of the best outfitters, they don't have openings for a couple years out.
That's correct.
You make a plan in advance. We'll get you with a really good outfitter that's really successful.
Smart.
And you put your money into that and go on a hunt that's higher success. Sometimes private land, sometimes public, but it just gives you the opportunity to be successful with some planning. And that's the key.
That's a brilliant idea. Is some of those tags, is there a chance that you can put in as a party in possible
Absolutely.
draw?
Absolutely.
Because it's funny you say that, because when I talk to, as you were talking about friends that go, I got buddies from Pennsylvania, I got buddies here in Georgia, Alabama. Every year, September, they pack up the trucks. They take 2 or 3 trucks, sometimes a camping trailer. They have wall tents by this time.
Yep.
They have, from Coleman tents, you name it. They got the gear, and they just take off. And you're right. Sometimes they'll spend 7 to 10 days. Every one of them have $1,500 to $3,000.
Yep.
And very rarely, I can think of maybe 1 or 2 times that I've heard success stories. So they've been doing this for 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
And maybe 3 to 5 bulls have been shot over that period.
Right.
So the number one reason they're doing it, they're not macho men. They're not
Right.
somebody's like, you want to get on, Instagram right away or Facebook and post a picture and DIY, man, public ground. They're not. It's all about their finance. It's all about their economics and what they're taking from their family. And they can justify spending this $1,500 to go with their buddy. No different than, oh my God, you want to talk about expensive? My wife and I just sat down and looked at a trip to take the kids to Florida to see my 5-year-old, to take him to Disney World. I about threw up, man. I'm still sick at my stomach.
Yeah.
We're not even going to hear a bugle,
Yeah.
but to stay in a hotel, to eat, to park.
Might see a lizard.
Yeah, and my God, I'm going to get the fast pass because I cannot stand in line. My God. So if you think about it, hunting, it's not that you're just paying to go kill an animal. There's so much that goes into it that people forget. And so those same group of buddies of mine from Pennsylvania and Georgia, literally, if they just put back that $1,500 a year,
Yep.
all of a sudden, maybe 5 or 6 years later, maybe they draw a Nevada tag.
Right.
And call my buddies out there, Big Bull Outfitters.
Yep.
I forget their name.
Bull Ridge. Yep.
Bull Ridge.
Yep.
Great guy. I mean, just a family-run business.
And hunting machines.
Hunting machines.
Yeah.
Oh, and they know every unit because
Yep.
let me tell you one thing that I learned when I was hunting Nevada or hunting Arizona.
Yep.
There's no land markers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you'll know you're in, say, Unit 7.
Right.
Only because you got a map.
Yep.
But I remember in Nevada hunting, and I remember looking around and it looked the same, and, and hunting with Bull Ridge, and he's like, yeah, that's Utah.
Right. You could get yourself into some big
and if
trouble.
I'd have just rolled in from Georgia, I could have easily just been thinking, dude, this is big country. Oh, my God, across the canyon is Utah. If I could have heard a bull bugle there.
Yep.
You could have run right across. And so it was just nice to be with somebody who knew the land.
Yeah.
No different than me knowing the land if I'm turkey hunting or deer hunting, knowing, hey, don't go across that creek. Also, just the fact of knowing what those bulls were doing, knowing traditionally where they, bugling the most and what they do.
Scouting all summer.
Sometimes you got to swallow your ego in that stuff and look at the economics.
Yeah.
And so when you look at a situation like that, we were staying in hotels, but at that particular hunt I'm thinking about in Nevada,
Right.
Bull Ridge had it all lined up and told us the best places to stay. I think we even made our reservations,
Yep.
but told us the best places to stay.
Yep.
And they showed up every day, or we met them, and they took us to make sure that we were in this footprint of this tag unit that we drew. They had been out there. They had scouted before. They grew up in the area. They knew it. So obviously it wasn't crazy expensive.
I killed
a stud on the 3rd or 4th day.
Yeah.
I killed a giant, like a
Yeah.
360s bull with my bow and arrow.
Yep.
And on public ground, literally
Yep.
flew into Las Vegas. So that's just one adventure.
Right.
And I look back, and all of my biggest bulls, every one of them have come from public land, draw tags, New Mexico,
Yep.
Arizona, Nevada, Wyoming, all of them.
Same with me. with the exception of whitetails, my biggest whitetails come from private ground. But
yeah, same
all
here.
my biggest animals, moose, elk, mule deer, bears, they all come from public land. And it just takes a little bit of planning and a little bit of strategy, and that's where we come in.
So is somebody can have a chance if they log on to your website and then they go, there's numbers they can call and get signed up. They might talk to you. They might talk to some consultant that they can dial in, where to go and what they might want to do, how much money they got toward it. And so you can help put them together a strategy and a plan so they'll know, like, look, man, in 4 years, more than likely, based on odds, you're going to draw, let's just say this Unit 7 Wyoming. Or you're going to draw this Unit 7 Arizona, possibly.
And let's face it, not everybody's got $15,000 to spend on an elk hunt.
No, they don't.
Obviously, right?
No, right.
But for that $5,500 to $8,000 range, over the course of 3 years, you can save up that kind of money so that when you do draw that, you can go on that hunt and have an unbelievable experience. Now, like I said before, it's not a guarantee you're going to kill, but it just takes all the guesswork out of it.
Right.
And
well, here's the thing. Take a Unit 7, which is another unbelievable unit, say in Arizona. I mean, it's a big, vast area. But let's just say you draw the tag. I would say you got $5,000 in the tag.
Yep.
You're going to have a $5,000 bill just in having access to this national forest, this hunting public property. All right, so you got that in your tag. And let's just say you don't have another $5,000 or $10,000 to go toward finding an outfitter. Dude, you can sleep in your truck. You can go out there again if you want to with your beanie weenies.
Yeah.
You can go find you some Motel 6. Maybe you got some Delta points you can burn on a hotel and drive back and forth. It's your budget, your experience at that point.
Yep.
I would assume.
That's right. Yeah. There's just so many opportunities out there, and on the whitetail side of things, there's just so many people that have never left their home state to hunt.
Right.
Look at the great hunters from Pennsylvania,
Michigan,
New York, Michigan,
yep,
all up and down that just have never been anywhere. They're great hunters.
Same with the Southeast.
But the unknown kind of scares them. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to start. And literally for, some of the top end hunts that I'm selling are $6,500 to $7,000. But I also have $3,500 hunts that are super successful and great hunts. So you can get with us on that. We can get you booked and put you on a great hunt. That's something that you're going to go and just have an unbelievable time that'll open your horizons as far as hunting and get you into new things and let you experience something you've never experienced before. Because let's face it, the hunting in Kansas and Iowa and Missouri and South Dakota and Texas are nothing like hunting in New York and Pennsylvania and Georgia, Alabama. It's a completely different world.
We've got some good deer in the Southeast, as do, I got a lot of friends even in that Michigan up through Pennsylvania, even New York. They're shooting some really nice bucks now, but you can't, it's not apples to apples. Mm-mm. You can't judge that Midwest unit. Even some areas in Ohio, Kansas, Iowa, even those areas of Illinois, it's a whole nother level of hunting. Yep. As far as those big, huge Polaris whitetails, it's just, they're amazing animals.
Even like some of the Texas hunts we offer, some of the Texas hunts you offer, you got a chance to kill a nice buck. A lot of times if a cull buck comes in, they let you shoot a cull buck. You can shoot a couple of does. You can shoot a hog. You can possibly shoot a javelina. So it's a target-rich environment. You go down there. The food is phenomenal. The lodges are great. The weather's warm. You're sitting in a blind or, in an elevated blind or a pop-up blind in a dang T-shirt, and you see tons of animals. And, I mean, it's just an experience that if you've never had that Texas experience before, it's an unbelievable trip. I mean,
it's a vacation.
It's just awesome.
What amazes me, and social media made this very apparent, and even through the production of TV shows that we've been part of, now we're literally going into our 15th season of Bone Collector. Of course, you and I with the Realtree Outdoors and Realtree Road Trips. I mean, dude, obviously this is obvious we're getting old, because if you just look at the time that we've hunted together and the adventures we've been on. But what frustrates me, all the people that sit and talk about sometimes will start bashing, well, I'm not paying nobody to guide me, and I don't need no outfitter. That's not hunting. I hear this, and I see it especially on social media, and it's made it very prevalent that there's this certain amount of insecurity and aggravation with somebody who might find success. But see, here's the way I look at it. Number one is I'm very secure, and a lot of friends that I hunt with are very secure. They can kill a good deer and they can hunt public ground and be successful, whether it's deer, turkey, elk. They also can have their own hunting grounds. Some of them on their own farms, own leases. And man, those guys are just unbelievable, understanding the terrain, understand the habits of deer, turkey, and elk. But what people don't realize sometimes about booking, let's say, an outfitter hunt or a guided hunt, you can't look at it as you're going to buy an animal. You got to look at that just like when you go to the Gulf of Mexico and go to Panama City Beach or Destin, Florida, or Cancun.
Yep.
You're taking yourself out of your state and you're going on an adventure. But the adventure just happens to give you the legal right to take your Hoyt or take a gun or a shotgun, and through this opportunity to stay, whether it's in a tent camp and ride horses through the mountains in Wyoming, or possibly stay in a really nice lodge like out at Daniel Richens out at R&K Outfitters, and literally have a chef cook you 3 squares a day, and then sit around in a campfire and then play poker at night with your buddies, maybe have your whiskey drink, and laugh and do everything and cut up. And then if you got 5 or 6 of you, if 3 or 4 of you get animals, it's 10 times
priceless.
Better than a resort.
Yeah.
It's 10 times better than a vacation in Florida, even though the cool thing about being on these vacations I'm talking about, a lot of times you got your family, but a lot of times you can take your family. I know Daniel Richens, you can pay and bring your wife, bring your kid. They might sleep in and drink coffee. You've brought Mallory, I brought Christy many times to where there is nothing as much relaxing as sitting around drinking coffee at daybreak in Utah. Are you kidding me? On a frosty morning, and then going back and getting to bed on a big fireplace, and then I mean, I don't know how many times I come in from hunting camp, been chasing elk, and come in and Christy is just rolling out of the bed, at 10 o'clock, like, oh my God, I had coffee and got up and had a good breakfast, and they're enjoying life from a tent camp to a lodge. And so I think people need to gear it down and when they're thinking about, man, I've been working hard and I got this weird feeling I don't want to go on a guided hunt. I think I'd be a lesser person if I shot something hunting with an outfitter. But you're not going to hunt and you're not buying an animal just guaranteed kill, which a lot of people would rather hear that. You really got to look at it as a vacation.
Yes.
So this vacation might cost you $3 to $10 grand. But you're going on an adventure that you're going to see some things. You're going to be in country that you've always dreamed of seeing. And let me just tell you, if you think it's going to be easy, it's not going to be easy. You're still going to get the same buck fever. You're going to be sitting there and that bull's going to bugle. And if he starts coming, you got to control your emotions. You're still sitting in, let's just say you're sitting in Texas and you're sitting in a deer blind. Like, man, I've always seen these guys, man. They're sitting in these little ground blinds. And what you going to do when 140-inch deers come walking there at 20 yards? It's still, you got to control your emotions. And then you might hunt 5 or 6 days and not see a deer like that. You never know.
That's right.
But the guide and where you hunt is going to tell you they're there. So I do think there's misconceptions, and I think the biggest thing that I've enjoyed is not just the animals, probably more than the animals I've shot, whether it's public, outfitted, private, or hunting leases, that places we can go, the adventure, the different geography, the different terrain, the different technique, and different strategy it takes to get close and be successful. So in that, definitely, man, you only live once, and we work hard, so it doesn't hurt to look at investing into something that you will remember for your lifetime.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've really seen over the years that's really prevalent with hunters is the goal setting capabilities and the goal reaching capabilities that hunters have, whether it's building a food plot and getting the deer to come to those food plots, whether it's saving enough money to buy a new Hoyt and a new dozen arrows and a bunch of G5 broadheads. There's all these different things that hunters have set goals to achieve, and they do it. So a hunt is no different. You got to plan ahead. Sometimes it's a couple years. Like I said, there's guys that have a ton of money that can just whip it out and buy that hunt that they want.
That's right.
But we come from a working background.
Absolutely.
It all comes with planning.
A couple thousand extra a year just to throw at hunting, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and so that's what we do. We help you plan and just get ready for the future. So, if you want to go on any type of adventure like that.
Again, the website is at
adventureagency.com.
Adventureagency.com.
Yep. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it's been really fun so far. We're getting people out on great hunts, and it's just fun to help people be successful. And to be honest with you, the people that aren't successful, they're having a great time because, all the stuff we just talked about. There's great food and beautiful country, and it's something new. I mean, a guy that comes from from a little town in Alabama and goes out to West Texas, you know, some of those hunts, top end buck's going to be 140, but you're seeing 30, 40 deer a night, 10 or 15 bucks. You got
Golly,
pigs
yeah.
coming in and javelinas, and you can shoot does. I mean, what a trip.
It's an adventure.
Yeah.
Eating good food and laughing. You know, I always tell people that that's the ultimate. Texas is the ultimate adventure for a hard-nosed guy, as well as a person who maybe isn't looking for as a tough a hunt. Because typically the years that we go to Texas, when we do go, it's usually in December.
Yeah.
And we have been, you know, from our crew, we've been grinding really hard, been through all the coldest hunts, you know, all the 7-10 day hunting all day in some cases.
Yeah, and me being from Minnesota in December, it feels great to go to Texas.
Absolutely. But, you know, you go out and hunt an hour or two in the morning, hour or two at night, come in. A lot of times you get a nap. I mean, and you eat
shoot
this
your bow in the
great
middle of the day.
Yeah,
It's
eating
just
great
awesome.
Tex-Mex food and laughing and cutting up. And it really is a very social. So that would be a great trip to take a few buddies and spend the money. And like I said, you come home and you're usually going to have opportunities to shoot an animal.
For sure.
Wild animals.
Especially the Texas hunts.
Yeah.
I mean, they're reasonably priced, and chances are really good if you can shoot, you're most likely going to bring something home.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, it's amazing, all the opportunity, and I do think it can be very intimidating because even me, I've been in it a long time, and I've always enjoyed it and looking into these hot spots, and I definitely have my areas I like to go to, and it has amazed me because the last few years, you know, the shows on hunting public ground have become very popular, but I think it started from a standpoint of like, look at us, we're hunting public where it's the hardest. I do think there's a misconception sometimes. I kind of think that some of the best hunting, especially in the western big game, is on public.
No doubt.
I think when you look at Alaska, all of that's public ground. What is the only thing you can't hunt without a guide is a brown bear or grizzly?
Brown bears, sheep, and mountain goats. You know, everything else you can hunt.
You can
hunt caribou,
literally
black bears,
moose,
wolf. Yep.
I mean, so think about that. If you listen and you're in Louisiana, you literally could go on to an airplane app, book you a flight into Anchorage or Fairbanks, rent you a car, fly your bow up, and just go hunting.
Yeah.
Literally go hunting, go buy tags. And so I think a lot of times people get intimidated, and then they think, well, I can't afford that moose hunt. Man, that thing's $20,000. Well, what you don't realize, the opportunity to kill the moose is probably the cheapest thing. But when you start talking about getting in a bush plane, then you got to get there. Then that guy has to fly all these rations back into this camp in this remote wilderness. Now, you could get there and put you a pack on and start hiking, but you better have a canoe. You better be able to have your little hatchet and carve you out something.
Yeah, got to get off the beaten path.
You got to get off the beaten path. You know, maybe not as much for black bear, but if you're going to get back in that moose country sometimes. So by the time you charter a plane, you're going to have more than you realize in expense. Then you get that animal, you got to fly that animal back out. So I think when you start looking at everything, whether it's DIY and outfitters, you got to look at everything economical, and you'll find that whether it's private or public, usually there is some type of service to assist you. Now, if there's insecurity within you to say, I don't need a service, then don't use it. You don't have to use it.
Right.
But there's an old adage I always said, you know, better hunt smart than hunt stupid, or what was I going to say?
Hunt hard.
But hunt smart, not hunt smart, not
hard.
Not hard in most cases. And in a lot of cases, you're going to have to hunt hard, but use your brain, and you can let your ego push you into some situations that make no economical sense, and you really don't win none. And at the end of it, your wife ain't gonna love you no more anyway, and and nobody's really gonna give any much more shit. I mean, for me, I don't care. And so for me, I just want people to enjoy hunting, whatever they want to do, whether they want to go and just literally grind it every day and shackle the horses at night to make sure they got them in the morning and ride deeper into the brush. You and I have been so blessed because, Nick, we've done it all.
And that's one of the advantages that we have, you know, with this booking service, is we just have so many outfitters that we've known over the years, and so many friends and relationships that we made, that we can plug people into these same adventures that you and I have taken over the course of the last 30 years, and put people on those same adventures. And that's what really is fun for me, is to send a guy that's never been anywhere before and put him in a situation not only to be successful, but to come back and tell his wife, you know what, that was an amazing trip. I just can't even tell you what a good time I had and the people that I got to share camp with, because these guys are good people. You know, the guys that are running these camps and these outfitters, they're hardworking people, they're fun guys, and there's a reason that they're successful is because they are good people and they do work hard for you. And it's just a great feeling to be able to go into a camp knowing a guy's worked hard for you. You're in a good country. Everything's laid out for you, and just go have a good time and enjoy it, you know.
And it makes perfectly good sense because, you know, somebody like you and I would say the majority of the listeners, you know, I didn't grow up thinking one day, man, I'm going to go to Venice and I'm going to get on a little boat and row around. And somebody, I never dreamed of that. I never thought about, like, I remember looking at pictures of the Great Pyramids and thinking, dude, it'd be cool to see those pyramids.
Yeah.
I remember thinking it'd be awesome to go and see where Jesus was born. It would be awesome to maybe see some of those old castles or go to Greece,
Yeah.
you know, wherever, you know, is it Athens, the Colosseum where the gladiators fought? I've always thought that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I dreamed of doing was going to hunt an elk and somewhere in the mountains.
Absolutely.
Or maybe seeing a big moose in the tundra coming across in Alaska or the Yukon. So in my mind, if you look at both of those things, because I've thought about both, but I've always thought about if I had the money and invest, and of course my actions, you know, speak louder than what I'm talking here because my actions have proved that I have went and done those things. It's cost a lot of money. In some cases, I got some unbelievable bargains. I've been blessed to go to some places that cost little or nothing in some cases because I had a lot of people that was generous. In some cases, me and you found some areas like, holy cow, nobody's hunting here. This is public ground. Yeah. We would do a show and, like, please, we wouldn't say anything. We dang sure wasn't going to talk about public ground. We were just going to let everybody think we was in a high fence. I didn't care. Yeah. We got an animal, and we got it for thousands less than what it normally would have cost. But in the end, when you think about it, if you turn around and just decide, you and your wife or you and your buddy, to fly to Italy,
yep,
I promise you, you're going to have some type of guide or some type of somebody that's going to help put you in the best situation. Yeah. Some type of booking consultant that's going to help you find the best deal in a hotel. Or are you just going to wander into Italy and
just jump in?
And they're talking Italian. You're like, hey, man, I'm looking for a donut.
Jump in a car and have to drive on the wrong side of the road, you know.
Cheeseburger. Okay, French fries. I mean, you're going to do that. So if you're going to travel across the country, I would highly advise somebody to put a little bit of effort into talking to somebody or having somebody waiting on you to this destination. Yeah. It could be a local school teacher. Right. It could be the mailman, somebody locally that can help you understand the lay of the land, the topography, and in some situations, just the climate and the situations you can get yourself into. So there's so much, and it's so good to hear that you're doing this because there's no better person than you to do this. I know I've worked years and years with Eric Pollock and love that relationships I've had with WTA Tags, a great organization.
Yep.
But, you know, when I think of Nick Mundt, Nick is always the guy that even us, me and T-Bone and even people around us like, Nick, what's this guy? Man, do you know this outfitter's any good? Hey, what's that area over there in northern Nevada? Is there big bulls? Yep. You and Corey Knowlton have forgot most than what most people know, and I will brag on you, but I don't think a lot of people see that or know that all the time in you. And you are the guy that grew up out west. You not only desired to hunt a whitetail back in the southeast, but you just wanted to go anywhere and everywhere you could get to.
And so not only do we have, you know, stuff in North America, but we've got stuff all over the world. And so
Africa, Asia, anything.
And that's why I wanted to call it NW Mundt and Associates Adventure Agency, because I'm working with people that specialize in Asia. They specialize, you know, in some of those Russian bear hunts and some of the Africa stuff. And we literally, anything around the planet that you want to do that's legal to hunt, we can put you on it. And so we've got a great team of people that we've assembled that are knowledgeable in different areas of the world. And we've just built a really, really good program to get people on the species that they want to get.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, man, it's been.
What's your favorite
fun.
Thing to hunt, Nick? Like, if you had one thing, dude.
You know what? It's funny because that is the most asked question that I get, and it is really tough for me. I would say probably mule deer is my favorite. I just love mule deer hunting. I love it, and I love elk hunting.
I didn't know you'd say that. I really didn't think mule deer.
I hunt whitetails the most, and it's probably what I'm best at because I've just hunted them so much. I think like a whitetail. You know, I walk through the woods and I go, oh,